this is the last session. No matter what, I will not conduct this another session with Journey Builder. This will be the last session, and we'll try to cover every doubts that we have. And I think I've covered most of the thing in Journey Builder. No other sessions like if you go from the past history till now, I don't know anybody has covered all these things. What I've covered in these 5 sessions. So today we'll be discussing everything that will be related to use case, which is webinar campaign that was compiled by Ankita, Deepak, Sumit together. So I read whatever you have written there. So based on that, I tried to present based on my flavor what you people were looking for. So we are going to send an invitation to subscribers, inviting them for a webinar registration. Once they register, we are going to send them a confirmation email or confirmation communication with a appending or joining URL. And this communication, as what Ankita and others have said, is based will send based on the preference. Either we'll send the communication via email or via SMS, and we'll look at their preferences. We'll look at their consent, and also one of the most important thing was on subscription. Though it should not be the part of Journey Builder, but I'll try to touch few things because it will require more depth uh, understanding of what we need to do with regards to on subscription. So see, here when I say my flavor means how I think. If somebody comes up with a proposal or say use case or a plan to implement, this is what I think. It might differ from person to person, but this is what I think. I discuss. Let's go back, right? So I discuss what we are going to do with the use case. We are going to send invitation where they will click on the CTA and they will be redirected to some form where they have to submit the form, and then the registration is successful. You are going to send them the confirmation email. First thing is, before I start any solution, first I always deep dive into what is the data or which data we are basically focusing to. So for webinar, I'll always see, okay, where this data is coming from and where the data is residing, what things we have to do with this data to model the data so that I have all the data in my marketing cloud to start the campaign. So first will be I'll totally focus on data model. Directly jumping, if I jump into Journey Builder, definitely I need to have a entry source, right? And entry source is always the data. So that is where the data modeling has to come into picture. Once I start thinking about data, okay, so then we start building the data extensions. Once we build the data extensions, then we have to also understand uh, for each attribute, for each data extension attribute, what is the length, right? We have to focus on the length. We have to focus on what all attributes they require. I don't want to bring everything. Okay, whatever is required, only those attributes I'm going to bring, and all those things I'll review it once, and then since I'm using Journey Builder, and the main question here, because we came to this session with this understanding that we are using multiple data extensions, and that multiple data extension has to be used across Journey Builder. So it means more of a contact data. So mm, when it comes to be a contact data, it has to be the attribute group that has to be built. So I review the relationship and I'm going to build the attribute group. And then the third step, I'll go to a journey and I'm going to configure the journey based on whatever use case has been given to me. And I'm going to uh, try to utilize the best activity flows that they are in the journey builder to make it optimize. And now whatever to build the journey builder, now when I build journey builder, then I have to go and build email, SMS. That will be the touch points. After building the touch points, we also have to, when I say invitation, okay, if somebody clicks, then where the person is landing to. So for me, it is very easy to build a secure cloud page. I can build a cloud page, and from there, where person can register. And after all this, to optimize the solution, what I'm going to do, I'll definitely look into, okay, I can optimize my query studio. I can optimize my content blocks and all. So I'll go to content block, code resource, HTML, emails, and blah, blah, blah. Okay. So this will be inside my, planning, how I plan when it comes to any use case. Very preliminary, very at the top level. So most of people might follow, most of people might not follow what I do. These are the now once I build. like when we are building, these are the questions that are coming in. So when we are, then I call it as a brainstorming. I bring my developers and my team, and we discuss, right, what they're thinking. So the first question obviously was unsubscription in the journey. Then second was how to manage unsubscription in all subscriber, which I basically have to clarify from Ankita. How to take different data extension into entry source in a running journey for using. Again, this has to be clarified. I'm going to ask you all questions. How to use attribute group for custom preference, customer preference. Uh, can we use composite key as a subscriber key in a DE? Mm, these are mm, uh, the questions that are asked by Ankita and others. Okay, and these are you can these other questions like when we use import interactions into to get the Salesforce data into Marketing Cloud instead of using synchronous data extension, does the record still count as contacts? So this is one of the very good questions that being raised, and we'll go there as well. So there are other three questions that are being to be very interesting questions. How long does it take for a data to inject into a journey if it is coming from Sales Cloud? And another two is what are the parameters we should always check for sending back the Salesforce data back to Sales Cloud? And the last one is misconception for the beginners when they set up the journey. Before having a monologue, let's start with this first question. How to manage unsubscription in the journey? Uh, Ankita, you clarify this question first.
Yes, Shashi. So the same question, like if someone is unsubscribing and it is related to some publication list. So if he is unsubscribing, so how he will be not taken into the next step? Do we need to do anything in between so that it doesn't happen?
Sumit, you want to answer this?
Sure, I can try. So, as I
Mhm.
remember, you have mentioned in the previous session also that that depends on how we have used the subscription model there. Like, if we are using the all subscriber, so whenever a email is about to trigger, it will check the status of the subscriber in the all subscriber list, and in that, if it is marked as unsubscribed, then the subscriber will be opted out from there. And I believe there is another
Mm.
criteria which is like using the exit criteria. So if the user is unsubscribed, we can even exit the subscriber from the journey using the exit criteria.
Deepak?
Yeah, Sasi. So as per my understanding, there are two ways. One is, evaluating against the contact data, whether he is unsubscribed or not. Evaluating against the filter criteria that we set for the exit criteria. And, if he is unsubscribing and it is evaluated against the contact data and will be ejected out. And the other way is if first email is having configured for one publication list, and in the following part, if the second email is configured to send to all subscribers, but then if the customer is unsubscribing in the email one, then anyhow the second email will be sent because we are configuring it to send to all subscribers. If we select the same publication list in the email too, then the email too will not be sent. So two ways, as per my understanding.
Ankita, you want to add something?
No, Shashi.
Okay. You feel that you are satisfied with this answer?
Yes, actually, we discussed these things that day also, but we
Yes.
wanted
Okay.
your clarification and your. That's why we included this question.
Vaibhav, you are in, right?
Yes, Shashi, I am here.
Do you want to add anything here with unsubscription in the journey?
In my previous work, like what I have seen is that we have a publication list for the
Mm-hmm.
newsletters and for the ad hoc campaigns. So
Mm-hmm.
there, if a person has unsubscribed from any of the publication list, so
Mm-hmm.
he will not receive that uh, publication list emails. And remaining in the all
Mm-hmm.
subscriber is criteria. I don't know. Like if he if a person has unsubscribed for an example from the newsletter, so
Mm-hmm.
it will like add it into the all subscriber list or not. Like this is the confusion I have.
Understood. Okay. So, how to manage unsubscription in all subscriber? We'll go there. How to take data from different data extension into the entry source in a running journey for using for send activities. This was again from Ankita, or who had asked this question.
Yes, Shashi. These initial questions are based on that use case only. That
But if you want to give a
question is
scenario like
related to, because we are,
what you think.
yeah, yes. So like we are using one data extension in our entry source, and from there I think journey takes the email address and mobile number when it starts sending email or SMS. So we want that in the running journey, on the basis of preference, after that particular decision split, if we want to store the email address from other data extension in our entry source data extension. So how can we do that? Same for a mobile also, a mobile number. If we want to store the mobile number from other data extension, some other data related
Uh,
data extension to the entry source.
how to use attribute? Also, this I'm not going there. Can we use composite key as subscriber key in a DE? This was, I think, from Sumit.
Sumit.
Yes,
Sumit,
that's right. Yes.
clarify it once again.
Sure. So I remember this was a case when I have started working on Salesforce Marketing Cloud. We had an architect, and what he was trying to do here is we had this model through which they are trying to save a little money, because the contact model depends on the number of contacts. So he was trying to use a composite key, and somehow he has used that composite key in a journey. I still don't know how he has done that, but I was always curious how we can do that, to use a composite key and send, so that it will just take one contact. I mean, there is so let's say there is a one subscriber key, but adding another key like a composite key, and can we use it in a journey? I mean, how can we do that? Is there a way to do that?
Who is there? We have Sai Dinesh.
I
Do
don't
you
know
want
the
to say
concept of
anything?
I don't know the concept of using the composite key, but I understood where the question is coming from.
Lakshmi,
Yes, Shashi.
did you understand the question?
I think I understand, but I don't have any answer.
Also, in this webinar, I have used composite key only. Also, there, I think that will suffice with the answer. So this another one is a very interesting one. When we use the import functionality from interaction tab and bring Salesforce data into Marketing Cloud using not using synchronized data extension, does this record still count into context? So I had actually written a blog uh, on that, and I'll show you there what happens with this also. So for me, my understanding, this is the clear understanding. When we use interaction import, they are using V2 app API, and basically they add it to what you say is more of a suppressed contacts which are not added to all contacts, though they will be there in the, you say, at the business unit level, but it will be not added to the all contacts. All contacts will always go at the parent level. So if you do synchronous data extension, it is by default it gets added to all contacts and it adds to your licensing cost. But with interaction import, it does not add it to your cost of the all contacts. Okay? It is more of like unmanaged contacts, what they call in the jargons. I'll show you. I've written a blog long time back, but you brought it up, and very few people know about it. I doubt a lot of Salesforce people also don't know about it. But I have written a blog. I'll try to show that blog as well. We'll explain more about that this as well. Now, mm, how long does it take to inject in a journey coming from Sales Cloud? So in the, I think in session three, right, where we discuss Sales Cloud data, I will say go back and see what I said when you are using Salesforce data. What are the what are process builder, right? If they are Apex code and other. So the high priority is with the process builder, the flow that happens, and it depends on the process builder basically to inject into journey builder. If there is they basically use commit. One of my experience with this Sales Cloud is basically when you are using campaign, Salesforce campaign. So what happens is says campaign member gets added to that campaign. The campaign member is added, and the same time they have to basically commit it to the either to the contact or lead. If that commit is taking some time, there might be some issue. So the process builder now it is quite optimized. Long back, 4 5 years back, it was little. There was some injection dependency, and it used to flow little late. Now it is, I think it doesn't take much of a time. It should be within, I'll say within 1 minute it should come, but it depends on how your data model is being designed and how basically the objects, if you are using custom objects and it has a lot of relationship, custom relationship, then it might have some time if they have to, go first, add it to campaign member, then add it to contact or lead or a lot of things. So it depends on how your relationship is built in the Salesforce cloud. Normally, if you use contact, the standard objects, it should not take more than 1 minute. But there is a lot of caveats with MC Connect, your MC Connect version, your permissions. When I say permissions, people talk about admin. It's not about admin. It's permission. Is like how many API they can consume. Hmm. You have synchronized data extension and you have synchronized lot of objects. And what happens is sometimes if you go and see, you'll see that when you open the synchronous data extension window, it will say like loading, loading, loading. Why it happening is because it's consuming a lot of API, and sometimes there is a timeout that is happening when they are trying to sync. So it depends on the permission set, and they can increase the permission set also, but it depends on all related to the Salesforce architecture in Sales Cloud. And what are the parameters which will check for sending back the Salesforce journey reporting data back to Sales Cloud? So what do you mean by what parameters we need to check?
Shashi, I have asked this question. So,
Mhm.
in one of the interviewer has asked me this question, and I tried to tell that it should contain at least a lead ID or a contact ID, and data should be there in the Salesforce data. And he keep asking me for all those parameters, and then he said there are more parameters, and go and check it. I even tried to check, but I never got a complete answer. So I wanted to know, I mean, what all parameters? Because I guess this one parameter in even in journey by default it is checked there which says send the data to Sales Cloud. If we uncheck, the data will not be sent. So I just wanted to know, I mean, all the parameters which we always be ensure that okay, this is going to get back if we check all those parameters.
I'm still confused with the word parameter. So when you're saying send back the report, the tracking report to back to Sales Cloud, the first thing that comes to mind is the individual email result implementation. So they have to basically have that implementation in the Sales Cloud, either to contact or lead. And now if they want to do with opportunities, there is some uh, issue. They have to do a lot of lookups and other things. They have to customize it. But with lead and contact, I think they have a easy way out. So first, that has to be configured at the end, because when we are saying sending back is like whether that we have sent that email, whether that is opened, whether it's clicked, and all those reporting we are sending back. We have a lot of options to do. If you are using Salesforce data, okay, you have that checkbox to be checked, and then you can send it back, which is good. And it goes to the, I think it goes to the individual email result. So they need to have that. If they want to add, I don't know what parameter. So if I have to show you individual email result, it is one of out of the box feature that is there in Sales Cloud. Maybe he's talking about individual email result. I don't understand this question very clearly what the question is for. And the other way is I can have script activity or custom activity through which I can also send it to Sales Cloud by automation, via a cloud page or any other way, or through API also. Full clarity I don't understand with this question. Okay. Now, misconception. Okay, once we start,
I'm just thinking about this question. So, can this be like related to the mandatory fields that we need to give back to Sales Cloud in order to store the results in there?
what
Yeah,
mandatory fields?
we can take it as, let's say, I have I'm using a Salesforce data and I'm sending a campaign. When I said
Mm,
campaign as an email from
mm.
journey, and then I saw that data is not going back to Sales Cloud. So what all things I will troubleshoot to just to ensure that the data should go back to Sales Cloud.
So, see, first thing is the out of box for me. Again, I'm saying it is the individual email result. Right now, you are saying that what things I have to check. Then, if they have, they are not using individual email result, but they are using some custom object, and Let's say I created a custom object for tracking, and then they have some property, they have some attributes, the API fields, which have a relationship with either contact or lead. They have to have a proper lookup and all. So maybe if I'm sending uh, emails to contact, then maybe I have to first validate whether that contact actually exists or it has been deleted from Sales Cloud, right? So maybe I'll use retrieve Salesforce object function and first try to see whether that ID is present or not. If that is present, then only I'm going to send the data. So it depends. See, in which context the person is asking. In journey, it is out of the box. So in out of the box, when you have, do you consider something that you say, okay, there is some validation, then it should be out of the box. That has to be incorporated in the journey, right? But I haven't seen that. Okay, you say first validate this, then only send. There is, I don't see there is kind of a configuration that is in the journey builder. So maybe the question has to be reframed properly to understand the question. When it says parameter, I don't know what parameter is asking for. So let's say I created a custom object and I want to basically do send the reporting like we did in Viva. So in Viva, they used to have a custom object, and there what we used to do, we used to run via script activity and send the data there. At that time, we used to do first retrieve to see the record is present or not. If the record is present, and then we'll see, yeah, what are the mandatory. Obviously, when we go to update Salesforce object, we can pass key value pair, right, with attribute and value. So I don't understand the question. Hmm, maybe. So the last one, please take us through some of the most common misconception beginners have. Beginners, first is like having this, when you're sending communications via automation, it is more of a bulk send. But when you're using Journey, it is one to one. Okay. But with now this 23rd release, the spring release with Marketing Cloud, they are doing a pilot implementation to have a bulk send from Journey Builder as well. Like I said, when you use API triggered journey, that is always one to one. We can't send bulk data, right? With this 23rd release, they are saying we are trying to implement bulk into the journey also, bulk data. So things are changing, but I'll try to see the misconception also. So anyway, we'll try. Okay, I'm keeping this in mind, and maybe if people keep these questions in your mind, and during our session when we proceed further with all what we do with webinar, you can ask this question again and again. If I'm missing something, we'll move forward, and when we get time, we'll come back to this question. So today's more focus is on the webinar, right? So now, first is we meet with the team, we discuss whatever the brainstorming, what questions they have, we listen to the question and all, right? So, how I am going to design my webinar campaign? So, a simple flow, a whiteboard flow chart where I see, okay, what we can do, right? So, for webinar campaign, I said, okay, I need a journey builder to implement. That's well and good. I need all the subscribers to whom I need to send, okay? And we are discussing preferences and consent to send those communication, okay? If they have the preference of SMS, we'll send all the communication via SMS. If they have email, then we are going to send by email. If they have WhatsApp, we're going to send by WhatsApp or line or any other way. Mm. And before sending, we have to definitely see whether the person has given a consent or not for that preference. Though the person has given the preference as email, but the person has opted out, we should not send the email. And when we are saying consent and preferences, we need to also understand the source of truth. Whether the consents are the source of truth is Sales Cloud, Akamai, or any other third party, or it is residing in Marketing Cloud. Now, once we understand the source of truth, then we can decide on all subscription and publication list. That becomes secondary for me. Okay. So we'll dig deep here as well to understand this. Webinar metadata is like, yeah, we are sending webinar, right? We are conducting some event. So who is the speaker, when the webinar would be hosted, right? What is the time zone? what are the topics, all this has to be captured, and where you are capturing from, that also has to be clear for me. Somebody is trying to register for webinar, are they going for Zoom? So it will, should we send them to the Zoom interface to basically register, or should we create it in the cloud page? So most preference way would be in the cloud page. We can call Zoom API inside the cloud page as well. Hmm. So I don't need to go very deep, but in the surface level, this is what it comes into my mind. Okay. And in Journey Builder, we have two communication. One is the confirmation email, and one is the invitation. And for invitation, first I said, okay, from the invitation itself, I'm going to decide whether to send email or SMS to that particular subscriber. So this will become more of a whiteboard for me. Hmm. So then, after all these learnings and all this discussion with different stakeholders, different team, and everyone, I come with a data extension. Okay, so my subscriber base will reside in the master D. My subscriber preferences like email, SMS, WhatsApp, opt-in, opt-in date, and all will come into subscriber preference data extension. And then I have a webinar metadata. The webinar will be conducted on this particular date. These are the speakers, these are the topics, and any other things that has to be captured. It will be captured in the webinar metadata. And I have two more data extensions, which is called webinar confirmation and invitation. So webinar invitation is like a entry source to whom I'm going to basically send the invite. And only those people whom I'm going to send the invite, for them only I'm going to send the confirmation email. So there is a dependency on webinar invitation and webinar confirmation. So broadly, I have decided with these 5 data extensions. Then I go to the attribute group to build the relationship. So when I go to the attribute group with the system contact key, I'll have the relationship as one-to-one with the master D. So master D should always have one-to-one relationship. And I have this subscriber preferences. These subscriber preferences will have one-to-one relationship with master D, because like Sumit has opted in, opted out for email and or not. I'll capture that as Sumit opted in, opted out for SMS, that will also be there. So I'll only have one-to-one relationship. I don't want to make a historical data extension where say Sumit opted in this day, Sumit opted out. So that might, if you prepare historical subscriber preferences to understand his history, then this will be one to many. But for me, I made it one to one. Now, based on the subscriber master D, incorporated webinar invitation saying that, okay, I'm going to target from the master D. If the master D contains 10,000 records, what I'm going to do, going to select only those people who have opted in for email or SMS, and uh, I want to conduct webinar one. And so for webinar one, I'm going to bring those people. So that's why I have a relationship webinar metadata with webinar invitation, and that will have many to one relationship. So webinar invitation, like let's say say webinar one. Okay, for webinar one, you all people like you 10, 15, you whoever have joined today, like Lakshmi, Vaibhav, Achal, Sumit, Deepak, everyone, they want to be the part of this invitation. So obviously this will be many to one relationship. Hmm. And webinar invitation to webinar confirmation, this will also be, I'll try to see, I have to visualize. It should be again one to one, but we can discuss on this.